Greetings, everyone. I am very excited to be back in conversation again today with Julia Balaz, who is an extraordinary galactic astrologer. And part of what I so appreciate about your work, Julia, is you've really brought into our awareness some of these other aspects of our galaxy that we haven't been aware of. And today we're going to be exploring your deep dive into understanding Hyperborea, that asteroid, and what it means for us in this time. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Heather, for this opportunity. It's always a great pleasure to be with you. And I also want to thank your wonderful audience for the beautiful feedback and comments on our previous conversations that we had. It really means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a very conscious community working together to co-create this new world together. So talk, Julie, about how you got into exploring this asteroid that I'd never even heard of before.
Only about a month or so ago, I was reading Keone Hanale's new book. And at the very beginning, he mentioned the overview of the ages, Atlantis, Lemuria, and before Lemuria, there was a mention of Hyperborea by Helena Blavatsky in her books 100 years ago. And that moment when I heard that name, Hyperborea, I recalled hearing about it maybe 2 decades ago, just as a mythology that many ancient people talked about, that there is this mysterious land on the North Pole where beings who live there live hundreds of years, where there is higher consciousness. They were perceived as gods. And there's just a lot of mythology throughout the ages of humanity about Hyperborea. But that moment when I saw that word, as I read Keone's book, I wondered, is there an asteroid, Hyperborea? I checked, and there is. The number designated for Hyperborea is 1309. So if people go to astro.com or any other professional software, they can check if Hyperborea asteroid is relevant for their natal chart in connection to any of the planets in their birth chart. And for me, coincidentally, it's conjunct my natal sun at 0 degrees of Aries within 1 minute, 0:05 of Aries. And at the time of me discovering this, Neptune was conjunct at 0 degrees of Aries. So beautiful timing. And as I started exploring it, the frequency, first of all, that I sense from this asteroid was a call for us to remember the most ancient story of Earth as a living being and our role we play in her evolutionary journey. So that took me on a journey, and we can talk some more about that. Have you explored it since I mentioned it to you?
What's so interesting, yes. So I was doing an exploration of the mythology around it. And what's interesting is, particularly in some of the references in Greek mythology, that they were seeing it as this land far to the north. And as you said, it's sometimes been associated with the North Pole on the planet, but they were also associating it with the North Star and the circumpolar stars, which, interestingly enough, since ancient times were often seen as the immortal ones, the stars that never rise or set, they're always visible. But also that those stars relate to the knowledge of the precessional cycle. And interestingly enough, in particular, there are references in the mythology to the pole star Vega, which would refer back to 12,000 BCE and the time of the Golden Age, before the time of our descending consciousness. So it seems like it's holding that wisdom of these larger cycles that we go through in our evolution of consciousness as humanity, like you're saying.
Yes, that makes me realize that the Hyperborea symbolically would be carrying connection to every North Star that we had across the entire cycle. And it's fascinating that at this time, as I discovered this, my understanding of the entire precessional cycle and beyond has expanded so much. And not only me, but also many other in my community. We've done this beautiful video with fellow astrologer Kat Collette on my channel, paying attention to the cycle of precession and connection to Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 point of Aries, and uncovered beautiful information there. But yes,
It's a great video.
There is something about that asteroid that is calling us to remember Earth's story. And as I looked at significant people in the field who are contemplating these large cycles, such as yourself, Keone, Martha Alter-Heinz, Kelly Kolodny, anyone who I have a chart on, we all seem to have Hyperborea in prominent spot, kind of just validating why we are contemplating these things. Why is it important for us to understand it as individuals, but then also share it with the collective? For me, it's in the 11th house, so here I am talking about it.
So how do you see it supporting us in that process? In terms of, it sounds like it's a marker for those that are carrying that understanding of these larger cycles. But why do you think it's so important that it's coming into our consciousness now?
I asked this question on the night when I woke up just after 3 a.m. in semi-wake state, on that precise conjunction of Neptune on my natal sun and Hyperborea, and the consciousness presented as I am presence. It felt as extension of me, and all I was curious about was this, understanding how Hyperborea is helping us now and how it connects to the following eras of Lemuria, Atlantis, ancient Egypt, and now. And so I'm going to share what was revealed to me, and I'll do my best to convey it in a relatable sense. I was made aware of Earth as the living being and her moment of when divine spark of consciousness entered her sphere, so that she started her journey of holding space not only for physical evolution, but also spiritual evolution, and preparing to hold space for individual fractals of source in human form to start incarnating. And to me, Hyperborea era symbolically represents that timeless moment when Earth was being prepared and beings of higher cosmic intelligence that feel very plasmic, very fluid, were working with her, preparing her grid energetically for the spiritual evolution of source consciousness, descending into lowest possible forms, into physical reality, so that it can experience the contrast of creation. So following the cycle of her evolution, as we then had growing number of individual souls incarnating on Earth, and we have this beautiful era of Lemuria, where it still felt very fluid, our experience. We were still telepathic and deeply connected to the universal harmonics, yet aware of the descension cycle into denser and denser fractalization of the one, so that it can experience that contrast. As we entered the Atlantean era, it feels to me, I get the metaphor of a child in a candy store realizing that you suddenly are by yourself and you have access to this amazing factory of any possible distraction you can think of. So in Atlantean era, we had the opportunity to make choices that led us into further separation. And as the moment of the Atlantean era's self-destruction came, there was a deep realization of the great importance of teaching the body, or making sure that the memory of the original templates for planet Earth in alignment with divine harmony will be maintained so that it doesn't go into complete destruction and its own end. So we have what I now perceive as code keepers. I feel there are always incarnates on Earth that carried these sacred codes. And perhaps through natal astrology, it is ensured that we have these activations and memories when we know what is sacred, and we embody it and we inspire it through our beingness in harmony with nature. So the era of the ancient Egyptian or post-Atlantean temples, where there was a hyper fixation on teaching the harmony between mind, body, and soul, and realizing what is the true role of the physical vessel that the spirit designed so that it can experience the contrast in the densest form. Then from the ancient Egypt all the way to now, for the last many thousands of years, when it feels like Earth was going through nightmares in her sleep of awful atrocities, yet there were always these code keepers that in secret maintain and kept alive the blueprints of divine design for what is the original intent for these human avatars on Earth. So we had these secret doctrines through the Essenes and Gnostics and Templars and so on, those that remembered the goddess, the great goddess, as part of our spiritual connection to all that is. And now at this time, everything, astrologically speaking, is pointing to the same message, that we are now in time of remembering. I feel a strong shift in terminology this week from the awakening to it feels more like remembering. Well, it's one and the same, but we are in time of great remembering, and part of it is to remember the entire evolutionary cycle of Earth herself. And what I'm also noticing in my community is that we seem to be releasing our need to feel attached to certain identities, whether societal, cultural, but also these galactic. We had this era of star seeds, and still people go through that stage where you want to release the identity of limited human self-perception to now you're galactic human. But even that seems to be losing its importance, and we are becoming increasingly aware of this greater cosmic cycle and our role in it. As perhaps what I thought of today, if mycelium acts as Earth's neural network, enabling trees and plant life to communicate, what is our role as humans? So I feel we are her eyes and ears and her voice. We act as a reflective network for Earth herself. So what we are going through, in a way, she is going through. So we are part of her own evolution as she's remembering what occurred while she was asleep. Does that all resonate?
This is really powerful, Julia. So you're in essence saying we're moving out of the illusion of separation that we've been in and really immersed in the time of the Kali Yuga, the part of the Hindu Yuga cycle or processional cycle when we're at our lowest level of consciousness, that we're coming out of that as of March 2025, and in this process of, as you said, awakening and remembering are really, in essence, the same thing in terms of coming back to that realization that we're part of the oneness of all that is, and that that's our true nature. So it sounds like this understanding of Hyperborea is carrying the seeds of that remembrance to guide us back into that deeper understanding, to support us in the shift that we're in right now.
Yes, the word uncorrupted codes, uncorrupted original intent for what we can be seems to be coming strong as I contemplate on Hyperborea. So it indeed feels like the alpha omega point where we are coming full circle. The hero's journey is complete, and now we can embody the wisdom based on experiences that we had throughout this entire cycle, including all its deepest lows and highest highs. Experience wisdom and love, no longer the naive type of love that is present when someone is very young and filled with love, but unaware of the contrast and denser universe that is polarized, unaware of the shadow, unaware of beings that made choices for service to self to the point where they separated from their direct connection with source. So now they need to harvest energy elsewhere. So if we had that stage on Earth when Earth herself may have been just this in this beautiful, blissful, blissed out love, and it's a very vulnerable stage to be in. So all kinds of predatory beings can come to the light, seeking the light that they no longer can access directly through their own choices. So we went through that stage too, and now we are stepping into that sovereign love that understands the shadow for what it really is, as a supportive force to evolutionary cycle, helping us reach our highest potential in our light. And I really feel strongly that as we are remembering spontaneously the memories of what Earth was experiencing through humanity in ancient Atlantis, Lemuria, throughout the entire cycle, we are helping to I feel our call is to bring peace to those memories, to heal the entire Akashic field of Earth's grid so that she can peacefully continue her journey onwards as a sovereign, infinitely loving and wise being. And that seems to have a ripple effect to the entire cosmos, I feel.
Well, I think part of what you're talking about, Julia, too, is that the Earth herself is going through her transformational process. And I love what you're describing, too, about the importance of our remembering this whole journey that we've been in as humanity with the Earth. And it feels like as we come back into that remembrance, you're describing how we can reclaim our wholeness and return to that original understanding of who we are and why we're here, but now in a much wiser, deeper way, knowing what it's been like to get caught in forgetting, in separation, in that illusion of our disconnection from the earth and sky and cosmic consciousness.
Yes, and it's a point where it doesn't mean that it will be all light and lovey. It's a point where we're able to stay centered in that grounded peace and sovereignty, even while we are grieving deeply, even while we are compassionately holding space for another living being still going through great pain, and maybe on the same day experiencing amazing highs. It's like we are able to hold that paradox of the great contrast that Earth is able to hold space for in her entire cycle. It seems to become more and more common, at least in my community, I witness that our capacity to hold that contrast from a place of peace is becoming more natural. Do you find that too?
I do. And I think part of what I see as key in that, which you're in essence describing, is the importance of our facing our own shadow aspects, the importance of our doing our own healing work. Because as we're able to hold all of those facets of ourselves in love and compassion, then we can emanate that and hold that and be a part of that shift in the collective.
Yes, beautifully said.
It's interesting to me, too, to think about Hyperborea as this asteroid part of my understanding is it's in the outer part of the primary asteroid belt. And in a way, I feel like the asteroid belt has held a lot of what's been forgotten, a
Yes.
lot of what's been repressed or split off or dissociated. I mean, so many of the asteroids carry the wisdom of the sacred feminine that has gotten split off in these last 5,000 years. So it makes sense to me that Hyperborea is in the asteroid belt holding those codes, those memories of our journey as humanity.
Yes, as you speak, I realized that the asteroid belt mirrors the fragmentation of our consciousness as we descend into the fractalized source itself, and each asteroid holds a piece of the puzzle of the entire cycle and of the entire journey. And I truly see that to be true by witnessing how asteroids manifest in our lives. For the last many months, I've been studying charts of individuals who submitted their story through my website. If you go to juliabalaz.com/research, if you feel you have a deep connection with either ancient Egypt or Atlantis or Lemuria, I have people who have been sending me stories of their spontaneous recalls, whether through deep meditation or dream state, or had amazing experiences while visiting Egypt. Very detailed stories that are very similar in frequency. From, when you see a large volume of stories, you can notice the pattern. But the memories that usually come through while the transiting asteroid is in direct aspect, either through to any of the natal planets, but also in aspect to the natal asteroid. There is always a trigger through beautiful geometry of the celestial bodies, these seemingly random memories that we often may even discard as just fantasy. When you look at the astrology, you can see that it's validated, that there is really something deeper here, and we are acting as Earth's memory bank, as she is remembering, awakening, but healing. Healing really is the key that I'm witnessing through these individuals' recalls, that as they recall, there is also immediate assistance to help heal if there was a traumatic memory. There are many that experience the flood, and synchronistically, asteroid flood is always in aspect, in connection. For those that have great fear of tsunami, or who never even learned swimming because they fear water, if you look at their astrology, they would have asteroid Atlantis prominent in their chart, and asteroid flood, in most cases, either square Uranus, natal Uranus, or Neptune, or conjunct South Node and in aspect to Neptune. It's fascinating to see. I really believe now, after this many months of deep dive, that the asteroids are showing us our deep past here on Earth. And the stars are showing us the reflections or the echoes of our galactic ancestral past or future. But the asteroids, there's so much more there.
Beautifully said. That's really profound, Julia. And it reminds me of something I heard Demetra George say in a workshop at one point, where she talked about, I love how you described the energies of the stars, and she described the energies of the planets as holding those archetypes and those archetypal energies within us, but that the asteroids are the very specific messengers guiding us in how that may manifest in our lives. And it feels like that's part of what you're saying, and the incredible synchronicity of their timing in activating those memories or that awareness in us.
Yeah. I would love to invite the audience, if they go to astro.com, which is a freely available software, and go to extended selection and take time to explore these different asteroids. What I've noticed, it can be deeply activating and healing for someone to recognize the truth of their experiences, black and white, through astrology, and the effect it has it helps people dissolve the self-doubting voice of, oh no, I couldn't possibly be here to teach ancient healing tools or modality. The self-doubt is so ingrained in us. For thousands of years we have been taught to dismiss and suppress our direct connection to divine intelligence. And so it's really hard. We really have to like overcome that nagging voice, to which the astrology, when you see it, that really helps it dissolve. And then people feel encouraged to fully embody the immense wisdom in their soul. They recognize how many lifetimes they've spent honing their psychic skills or healing abilities, and they've always knew that there is something bigger they are here for. And I believe we are here in millions to help heal the collective soul memory of planet Earth and help usher in this new era of greater connectivity and harmony with the entire cosmos. It seems that it's not just us that are evolving and awakening and remembering, but people who are very attuned with planetary beings in our solar system, they're noticing that even the planets themselves are transforming. There's much different energy coming through the archetypal beings in our solar system. Have you noticed?
Absolutely. And I think it's also associated with the fact that every 12,000 years we go through the galactic current sheet.
Yes.
So all the planets in our solar system are getting activated. And I see it in some ways as a collective purging process and a collective awakening of our solar system. And on top of that, the galactic center has reactivated as of 2024. So we're getting cosmic energies from our galactic center that are activating the sun, that are activating us. So I think all of this is calling us into this awakening, clearing, healing, remembering. And you and I were talking before the recording about Three-Eye Atlas playing a role in this. What's your sense of that?
I went for a walk today and I reflected on it in case you'll ask me about it. And I just recalled the moment when I first heard about Three-Eye Atlas, and the image that came in for me was the most ancient whale you can ever imagine, the frequency of that. And to me, whales in our oceans, I believe their role is to keep playing the song of the original design for planet Earth. Help Earth herself remember the original song. I feel their frequency, song, tuners. So if that symbolism came to me for Three-Eye Atlas, it feels to me like its role is to bring a tone to this solar system that amplifies the entire harmonics to a higher octave, perhaps. And it's beautiful to witness the response that individuals have and how it helps us remember the ancient times, the original intent for what our highest potential is. It also made me reflect on that connection to plasmic consciousness. I pondered why so many psychics that are tuning in are sensing the plasma-like consciousness. And again, it connected me to the Hyperborea and to the importance of us returning to embodying our capacity to be both plasmic and crystalline. Plasmic in our fluency and connectivity with all that is, and crystalline with the individualized structure of our own being, playing very particular piece of the puzzle in the grand harmonics of the solar system. And if I may, I also reflected on the children that are being conceived and born during the time when Three-Eye Atlas is here. And about a week ago, I was curious about its its trajectory, and when it actually arrived to our solar system. Yes, we discovered it in 2025, but it's been here since 2023, approximately, maybe 2022, when it arrived, or when it crossed Pluto's trajectory, and before that, Sedna. And so I wonder if the telepathic tapes connection with the children that are this new wave of new children, whereas before we had rainbow children, before that we had diamond children, crystal children, indigo children, and now this plasmic consciousness of greater telepathy. If they are, I'm not sure how old they are, these young children that are teaching us telepathy and demonstrating profound wisdom, were they connected to Three Eye Atlas entering not so long ago? Who knows?
Well, it's interesting that you would say that, Julia. I don't know if you saw the interview I just did recently with Susie Miller, who is in the telepathy tapes, and she has worked with some of these autistic children who were in the telepathy tapes, but she's worked with 15,000 across her career. And she's describing how these children say that Three Eye Atlas is carrying their frequency.
Oh,
So they feel a resonance with those energies, those codes, those tones that Three Eye Atlas is emitting. And they're describing how it's supporting those energies coming more fully into our experience on the earth to support us in remembering that we're multidimensional beings. So it so resonates with what you're saying, and I think it fits with that Peruvian shamanic understanding that we're meant to become homoluminous ones, to reclaim that we're beings of light, plasma beings, while still holding our unique fractal expression of cosmic consciousness.
The great paradox, both and neither at the same time. Yeah. So, and this beautiful being, Three Atlas, will be with us until 2029 is when it will hit Pluto's trajectory again on its way out, but then extending a little longer with other planetoids, including Sedna. So it could actually technically be all the way to 2032. And isn't that this entire window that we've been talking about of great remembering, great awakening, great transformation?
And this great karmic choice point for us as humanity. Do we allow ourselves to remember and go through this quantum leap and evolutionary leap in our consciousness?
Yes.
It is extraordinary how it feels like we're on such an accelerated process of remembering, and the synchronicities with your discovery of Hyperborea and its meaning, the movement of Three Eye Atlas through our solar system and how it's impacting these different planets and the sun and the earth. It feels like we are being so supported by the energies of the cosmos to be awakening and making this shift that we're called into.
Yes, undeniably. The support is immense. Everywhere we look, we see a message that supports the same. Yeah. I was just, before we came to the recording, I looked at the asteroids movement now as we record this, 24th of November, and in December, as there is such a great anticipation in the air of I wake up filled with joy every morning for the last few weeks. So I've noticed Hyperborea is conjunct Shapley Attractor from mid-December. Haumea is currently conjunct Shapley Attractor, actually for the entire last quarter of the year. And Asteroid Hawaii will be conjunct Shapley Attractor in early January. So for those that are not aware, Shapley Attractor at early degrees of Scorpius, and represents the call for the truth to be revealed and felt, and this authentic expression that is deeply magnetic. So it feels like if Haumea is conjunct Shapley throughout this time when so much is being discussed, triggered by 3i Atlas in the collective, as higher octave of Neptune by Alan Clay. As research, he calls Haumea the higher octave of Neptune, representing the unity consciousness. If conjunct on Shapley, like the truth of and the urgency of us returning to that unity consciousness is very potent in our collective discussion. Now Hyperborea is coming to that truth point, remembrance as well. So I wonder if that is also influenced by this powerful Shapley point. And then Hawaii in January, preparing us, helping us to start embodying more consciously the ancient ways of making choices in harmony with nature and the entire cosmos. And in December also we have Asteroid Atlantis conjunct the galactic center. So, and all personal planets actually will be moving through the galactic center. So that adds to our increasing awareness of returning to the center, as you beautifully wrote in your book, Returning to the Center.
Thank you. And it again, these synchronicities of how we're getting activated by these energies to remember. And it's interesting, I just recently did a conversation with Bibhu Dev Misra, who's written a brilliant article about the galactic center and its consciousness. So it feels like, as you said, the truth of who we are and of our deeper nature as humanity, but also the consciousness of the cosmos is coming more and more fully, rapidly into our awareness.
Yes.
And I want to circle back a minute, Julia. I think what you're saying before was so important about how we can individually reclaim some of these memories or past lives that we've had by looking at our connections with these asteroids. And you mentioned Atlantis. Can you say some of the asteroids that would give people a sense of a lifetime in ancient Lemuria or lifetimes in ancient Egypt?
Yes. And in fact, if people go to my Patreon page, Patreon/Julia Balaz, I have a webinar where I presented several case studies, including the wonderful Keone Hanalei. His chart is the asteroids in his chart are so beautifully validating what he's embodying. It was just exquisite. So I shared several case studies and a list of 22 asteroids that I included in my current research that I'm doing, just focusing on ancient Lemuria, Atlantis, ancient Egypt, and now I'm adding Hyperborea to it. And after the upcoming Quantum Soul Guidance Summit that I'm hosting and organizing, that's happening mid-January, I'll fully focus on writing, delivering information that will support people as much as possible. So in 2016, I'll just be sharing as many case studies and as many stories to support people, because it is profoundly activating to people when they see this. And it's like the missing puzzle pieces are revealed and they finally feel whole, seen, witnessed by themselves in their wholeness, in their truth of they are, and then co-creating with universal intelligence more than ever before. Just the level of synchronicity is exponential once you have that fuller picture of what your soul focused on from its beginning and what your potential is here now. Yeah, so some of the numbers, the asteroid Atlantis number dedicated is 1198. Asteroid Hawaii number is 48575.
And that connects to Lemuria, ancient Lemuria.
Yes. Perhaps I might include a slide in the post-production of this video so we can actually put it on screen so that all the 22 asteroids will be there for them and people then just take a screenshot. I think that'll be the easiest.
That'd be great. Because I think part of what's important about that is, as you are saying, it helps us remember our own history,
Yeah.
helps us more fully claim some of those gifts or skills we've been cultivating across lifetimes. But from my perspective, and with so many of the people that I do readings with, it's also so powerful in helping us heal what we need to heal from traumas in those past lives. Because part of my experience with people that I do readings with is some of these code keepers, as you describe them, have experienced a lot of trauma in trying to hold that wisdom in this last 5,000 years of the Kali Yuga, where so much of that's been repressed.
Mm.
And to be able to clear that, heal that, and come back into that honoring of the wisdom that they've held through some of these really dark times can be profoundly supportive of that healing process to then come back into more full remembrance and sense of wholeness in the self. Because I
Yeah.
think individually and collectively, that's what we're doing, clearing the trauma to remember who we are, hold these, bring these lost parts of ourselves back into integration to come into wholeness.
Yes, it's inevitable. It's such a crucial part of the process. Yeah.
So, do you also see, it sounds like from what you were saying about these upcoming configurations, that you also see this upcoming solstice as a critical threshold point, much like Kelly Kolodny and others who are talking about how critical that transition time is?
Yes, and there is one more amazing celestial messenger that I feel is playing important role at this time during the solstice. Um, I spoke about the supracosmic points in our birth chart representing the archetypal evolutionary journey of the one. So we have the galactic center at high degrees of Sagittarius, calling us to return to the center. As we evolved as awakened individual, we journey to the supergalactic center, the next major force, gravitationally pulling our entire galaxy towards its direction. Supergalactic center at early degrees of Libra helps us express our divinity in harmony with others rather than being preacher, teacher, selfish individual. No, the supergalactic center, in fact, squaring the galactic center is making sure that we embody source in harmony with the rest of creator beings. Then we journey to the great attractor point, which is at mid degrees of Sagittarius. It's a point I observe where we are being guided to collaborate with other conscious living creators in their sovereignty, together working for the betterment of the whole. Then we are guided to the Shapley attractor at early degrees of Scorpio, where as we go through the entire journey, we get to a point where we detach, where we lose the need to for external validations or for this insatiable need for this, that, or the other. We just start embodying the core truth of our being as one with all, holding that beautiful paradox of an individual consciousness, yet one with all. It's highly magnetic. Hence, Shapley is symbolically reflecting that in the greater cosmos as this insanely powerful cosmic force, making us move through space at 736 kilometers a second. Is just such a potent force. And so in our chart, it reflects that point of utter truth that is deeply healing and activating. And now on the opposite end of Shapley, we have Dipole Repeller, which is a space in our known universe that has least amount of galactic matter, least amount of galaxies, least amount of stars. It seems like it's a great void. It's at early degrees of Taurus in tropical zodiac, or high degrees of Aries. It has such a wide orb of influence, and instead of seeing it as void, I was avoiding it for a long time because void, there's nothing there. But actually, it's the sacred womb of creation, filled with infinite potential. It started calling me in the last few weeks. My natal Venus is exactly on that 2 degrees of early Taurus and Saturn on early Scorpio. So I realized it's such a potent place of infinite potentiality, and it only births something new when we go into absolute stillness, when we lose ourselves in the great void, and from there the spark of divine potential arises. So during this time we have this dipole repeller point at early Taurus, at exact midpoint between Saturn Neptune conjunction in early Aries, semisextile to dipole, and Uranus at early Gemini, semisextile dipole repeller, and Pluto in early Aquarius squaring dipole repeller, while we have these personal planets going through galactic center, activating one after another. So I feel that's yet another same message played over and over: return to your center, and there lies infinite potential. And if collectively more and more of us start doing that, really becoming these embodied avatars, we can change the world for the better, and usher in that, I believe, 1,000 years old peace that's prophesized, the new golden age, that we're helping to bring. But first, immense amount of healing needs to take place.
Julia, that is just so beautiful and so profound. You're really describing how we're being guided into this new birth and new earth that can arise through this transformational process. And it so fits with what Kelly Kolodny's work has been about in terms of working with womb activation and honoring the womb chakra in all of us. And it so resonates with those ancient Hermetic principles: as it is outside of us, so it is within us. As it is within us, so it is outside of us. So we're being called to be in this profound time of birthing ourselves anew. And all of these womb points in our galaxy are calling us into that.
Yes, I realized just before we recorded on my walk today that in mid-April, 20th of April, is when Sun is passing through this early degrees of Taurus. And isn't that in Northern Hemisphere time when there is peak of birth of new life on Earth? And I thought that was just such a beautiful reflection of the same.
And again, we're seeing these synchronicities everywhere. I feel as if the earth and sky are showing us in every way they can what this time is about and how we can work through this process into this radical shift. And part of what you're describing so beautifully too is the importance of releasing our attachment to ego, releasing our attachment to the paradigms of the past, to be open to this new birth, this movement into radically new ways of being, so that we can really honor being in this liminal process and align more and more fully with our soul selves that are able to hold that fractal expression of our uniqueness, but remember that oneness with all that is.
Yes, beautifully said. It really invites us into that beautiful relationship with Earth if we accept ourselves as her ears and eyes and her voice. And if she is feeling the impulses coming in from the galactic core as she's moving through this higher density space in the cosmos, feel her excitement for wanting to reach out to everything that she has been closed off from for a while. And now I feel we are acting like her her connection points with the entire cosmos. She's like saying hello to the entire universe, because now she was awoken by the beautiful galactic particles. Yeah, so there's just deep love coming from Earth to us, I feel, and from us to her for this profound journey that we are on collectively. What an honor, what a privilege to be aware of it all.
And as you said so beautifully, I think it is an activation, an ascension process that will affect our whole galaxy. So this is such a profound time that we've each chosen to incarnate and be here to be supporting this process. So thank you, Julia, for the work that you're doing and this profound research and remembering that's come to you. And I'll include all of your links below and information about your upcoming program so that people can access that. But thank you for being in this conversation today.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you all for being here with us, sharing this journey. So much love to all.
Yes, thank you to this community and for the way in which we are supporting each other in being in this time of awakening, remembering, and moving into a whole new way of being. Blessings and love to all of you.
Thank you.